Prosecutors have just arrived in the courtroom. As you can see right now, we are just minutes, if not seconds away from the jury being assembled and a verdict being read.
Yes. Case number 7, State of Hawaii versus Gerhardt Konig.
Here we go.
1 CPC-25-373 for further jury trial. Counsel, can I have your appearances, please?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Joel Garner for the state. Also present, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Franklin Don Vaccaro Jr.
Afternoon, Mr. Garner. Afternoon, Mr. McCarr.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thomas Otake and Matt Dirks on behalf of Dr. Gerhardt Konig, who is present.
Afternoon, Mr. Otake. Afternoon, Mr. Dirks. Afternoon, Dr. Konig. Gentlemen, all of you can be seated. Counsel, I wanted to raise a few things on the record. The court received communication number 1 this morning from the jury at 10:28. I did not send it out to you, and when I read it out loud to you, you can understand why. The jury wrote asking 6 questions. 1, may we please have blue painter state? 2, may we please have large post-its? 3, may we please have other colored dry erase pens? 4, may we have another whiteboard? 5, an easel for a notepad. 6, regular markers. I didn't send this through to you. It was more just asking for supplies. So the court answered the communication at 10:35, stating the court will collect and provide the requested materials. The additional whiteboard may be difficult, but we will look for one or a suitable substitute. With respect to the handling of the communication number 1 from the jury this morning, Mr. Garner, any objections by the state?
None from the state.
How about you, Mr. Otake?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
And then communication number 2 was received at 2:18 this afternoon, stating we've reached a verdict. And before the jury goes back into the courtroom, counsel, is there anything else you want to take up on record? Mr. Garner?
Nothing at the moment.
Mr. Otake?
No, Your Honor.
Then Ms. McCallum, the jury is ready. We'll take them.
Okay, there you have it. So it's 2:53 p.m. right now in Hawaii. They're bringing in the jury. It kind of worried me for a second there when he said, oh, the jury had a question today. But really what he was doing was putting it on the record and saying that they didn't call all parties present when the jury really didn't have a question. They just needed business supplies so that they can continue their deliberations. Today is day 2 of deliberations there in the state of Hawaii. And looks like we're back.
Okay, everyone can be seated. Jury is now in the courtroom. And the foreperson of the jury, please stand and state their name.
Jury number 9, Michael Pratt. Yes, Judge, yeah.
And did you sign and date the verdict form?
Yes.
Can you leave it in the manila folder? Ms. McCallum will come and collect it from you. Ms. Atkins, you can have a seat. Thank you.
Look at how nervous he looks. Let me know what you think in the chat.
Dr. Konig, can you stand as the clerk of the court reads the verdict of the jury?
Case number 1 CPC-25-0000373, State of Hawaii versus Gerhardt Konig. We, the jury in this case, finds the defendant guilty of attempted manslaughter based upon extreme mental or emotional disturbance, dated 4/8/26 by the foreperson.
Gentlemen, you can be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to call you by chair number, not by name, but by chair number. And I'm going to ask that you answer out loud either yes or no. If you agree with the verdict that was read out loud here in court, you would answer yes. If you disagree with the verdict that was read out loud in court, you would answer no. Starting with chair number 1.
Yes.
Chair 2.
Yes.
Chair 3.
Yes.
Chair number 4.
Yes.
Chair number 5.
Yes.
Chair number 6.
Yes.
Chair 7.
Yes.
Chair 8.
Yes.
Chair number 9.
Yes.
Chair 10.
Yes.
Chair number 11.
Yes.
Chair number 12.
Yes.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Dr. Konig, the verdict of the jury is indeed unanimous and consistent with their verdict. The court judges you guilty of attempted manslaughter in this case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am going to send you back into the jury deliberation room one more time. There's a little bit more paperwork that you'll need to complete with Ms. McCallum. I will make myself available. I'll come into the jury room in about 5 minutes in case anybody has any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. You don't have to wait though. If you want to get an early head start on your commute home, you're free to do so. When you leave in the hallways of the courthouse, the attorneys might be outside. They're always interested in hearing feedback from the jury. In addition, there's media that has covered this case. There will be members of the media out in the hallway as well. Some of them may invite you to talk about your jury experience. You're free to talk to anybody that you want to now that your jury service is just about at an end. However, if you don't want to talk with anybody, you don't have to. And that includes me. So you don't have to wait for me to come into the jury room. If you don't want to talk to anybody, including me, you're free to leave. But before you do go, though, if I do not have a chance to speak with you, on behalf of the parties and the rest of the judiciary, thank you very much for your time and your service. We started this case, it feels like a month ago. It's been a long haul for all of you. It has not been easy. We never thought it was going to be easy when we started this case. We already talked about how hard I thought it was going to be. And through it all, you have to endure that weather, that traffic, horrible parking conditions. Thank you very much for your flexibility, your perseverance. I hope you and your family remain safe during this weekend. Again, if I don't get to talk with you, thank you very much. You have our utmost gratitude. And like I said at the beginning of this case, and this is still true today, it has been my great honor to serve with you on this case. Thank you very much. So for the last time, into the jury deliberation. All rise. Everyone can be seated. Consistent with the verdict in this case, the court will order the preparation of the pre-sentence investigation report and schedule sentencing in this case on July 16th to Thursday morning, Counsel, at 8:30 in the morning. Do you have any objections to this setting, Mr. Barr?
Could we potentially have 1 week earlier? I know there's some time that these cases need to work. I'm
No,
potentially,
but I can go later.
okay, I'm potentially out of town for the last couple of weeks of July. I don't have approved to travel yet, but,
Setting in August would be better though.
and I have a training on the first week of August.
I'm sorry.
I have a training on the first week of August,
So early August,
after the 7th. If that's okay.
would 13th be okay?
Yes.
This one's okay, agreeable?
August 13th.
Yes, sir.
Fine.
So August 13th at 8:30 will be the sentencing in this case. Mr. Garner, is there anything else you want to take up on record?
There is one thing, Your Honor. I'm unsure if we place this on record during the closing argument portion. After the state's closing argument, the state was made aware of a case that came out in 2025 that required the state to ask that a portion of the state's closing argument be stricken.
I did.
Was that placed on the record or was it an off-record discussion?
It was on record.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was on record. Thank
And
you.
I gave the curative instruction to the jury right away.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Wataka, anything else you want to take up before adjourn?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Court's adjourned.
Okay, there you have it. The good doctor there in Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, found guilty, but being brought to tears because for him, it's a much lesser sentence. So the tears are kind of tears of joy for him. His defense team did a really good job. And here's the breakdown for you. Okay, so he was facing a slew of charges, a lot of charges, and he could have ended up spending the rest of his life behind bars for his shenanigans and what he was convicted of. So basically, this was the verdict form, and this is the reason why it took so long for this Hawaii jury. So he was facing charges, not just one, but several charges. He was facing charges of attempted second-degree murder. That was the top charge. And then he was facing attempted manslaughter, much lesser, and we'll get into sentencing in just a second. And then he was facing attempted first-degree assault, second-degree assault, third-degree assault, second and third-degree assaults. And then there was 2 theories with bodily harm and using a dangerous weapon, which would have been the rock during the incident in question, during the scuffle, during the fight. And in this case, he's convicted, so we can say he attacked his wife. So here's the difference now with sentencing. So it goes from a really big sentence of life behind bars with or without the possibility of parole to this. And I just pulled it up for you. Remember, each state in the union in the United States has different sentencing and laws decided by their state legislature, the people in that state. So there you go. There's your civics lesson. But here's what it says in the state of Hawaii. Attempted manslaughter is generally treated as a serious felony. Well, yeah. Typically, Class B felony. He's not going to be allowed to be a doctor. Punishable by up to 10 years in prison and fines. So again, we have the good doctor there in Hawaii breaking down in tears after he's found guilty, but it's tears of joy because it's not a life sentence. According to this, if I'm right, it's up to 10 years behind bars. 10 years where he can think about what he did to his beautiful wife there. All right, so guilty, attempted manslaughter. And this was after a lengthy trial there in Hawaii. I know that we're dealing with the time change. I'm based in the East Coast, and I know a lot of you, the viewers, the True Crime fam, are as well. So we've been getting you caught up on this trial. Please go back into my videos if you can and watch Susan Constantine, who is a jury consultant and also a body language expert, like world renowned. She's legit. She broke down the testimony of this defendant, not very believable. And we can say that because the jury didn't believe him. And she also broke down testimony of the victim, Arielle Konig, and broke down testimony of the son. So you have all of that to watch. And I also went over that in my latest video with Judge Ashley Wilcott, formerly Court TV, my colleague, my good friend. Again, the True Crime family is back together with this YouTube channel. So please share it. Please like it. And we broke down some of the biggest testimony, but I want to play some of that for you right now again as we're debriefing. What this was a really long trial that everybody was watching, but we couldn't really watch it with the time zone. But it was a fascinating case there. So we just aired some of the testimony from the good doctor. I'm going to air it again. I want to know what you think about it. And then I'm going to play the testimony from the victim. So let's do that.
And looking over the edge and just kind of still in thought about everything that had just happened and what's going on. And then I felt like a shove, okay. And I was almost pushed over the edge.
Okay. You felt a shove? Okay. Who shoved you?
Henry did.
What did you do right after that?
Barely caught myself and turned around and looked at her and was like, what the fuck was that? Like,
okay. Turn around and it was like, what, kind of in shock?
I'm going to pause this right now. It looks like we have movement from outside the courthouse. Where one of the attorneys is talking.
Everybody's seen the whole case throughout. I don't want to put some witnesses ahead of others. Every witness had an important thing to say. So I don't think that's fair to do anything like that.
Is this your first attempted murder or murder trial?
This is my first as a lead counsel. Second chair and assisting on a couple other things.
So Joe, what is the mandatory minimum? Is there a mandatory minimum for attempted manslaughter?
There is, the Boyd preliminary guidelines do have one. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head.
Can he get probation without jail, or would there be a minimum jail at least?
I'd have to look at it again. I'm not sure off the top of my head, and I don't want to give you bad information. So it might be just best to check the statutes on that one.
Is it possible he could get time served, like that at the end of the day, his sentence that he served will be equal to what he gets?
So ultimately, the process is, the next step is the adult plan services branch will prepare a pre-sentence investigation. The judge will review the pre-sentence investigation. We'll have a sentencing hearing, and the judge will determine what that sentence will be. So I can give a more clear answer than that, I guess. Sorry.
So Joe, will you present evidence of violence or what we call aggravating circumstances to merit a prison sentence?
There are several sentencing factors in the Hawaii statutes, which are 7.6-6, I believe. That we'll go through all those factors in the sentencing hearing.
Did you bring in something, for example, if you wanted to use the trial, would you please use the trial, for example, his past marriage conduct?
I don't have the answer to that today, sorry.
Okay, finally, though, can you describe what the jury would have had to decide in order to get to attempt manslaughter because of what you stressed? What's the, not necessarily the evidence that they would consider, but how do they have to vote to get to that?
Okay, so the jury was instructed with the law. The jury was first given the attempted murder in the second degree instruction. Then they were said, if you find guilty on attempted murder in the second degree, at that point you have to consider the extreme mental or emotional distress. Does that answer the question?
Yes, do they have to find that by preponderance or by the unreasonable doubt?
It is a preponderance of the evidence standard.
Do you expect Arielle to give a victim impact statement?
I don't know at this point. Okay.
Are you satisfied with this, or do you really want the second degree? Is that what you love now?
Yeah, I mean, we respect the verdict. We respect that the jury did their job, considered the evidence, and came to a verdict that they thought fit the evidence and fit the burden of proof on all sides, in this case. So that's all I can say about that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
You go.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so there you had an impromptu news conference outside of the courthouse courtroom there in Hawaii after this verdict reached by this jury there. If you're just joining us, it's a guilty verdict. We have the defense team. Let's get up there.
Verdict. That being said, we believe leading up to trial and during trial, there are many appellate issues, and we do plan on appealing, but that doesn't take away from our respect of the jury, their service, their dedication, and their verdict. And we look forward to appealing. I mean, we are thankful that they did not convict him of attempted murder, which would have been life in prison. And so we just thank them for their service, and we look forward to an appeal related to some of the judge's rulings throughout the case and before the trial.
Do you think he deserves probation?
That's all I'm going to say. Thank you, guys.
Are you relieved by this verdict?
Okay, so defense team, short answers there. Happy with the verdict overall, but planning to appeal what he's convicted of, which is guilty of attempted manslaughter, which is a much lesser in this charge and in this case there in the state of Hawaii. Let me know what you think so far of the case and the verdict reached by the jury there. They had the case for more than 2 days. They were out deliberating, and then they were asking, there was one question, they were asking for school supplies, work supplies to continue their deliberations. But, you know, this is a really big win if you would ask me. in the state of Hawaii for this defense team. Again, they plan to appeal, not answering any questions about sentencing. Thankful for this jury and thankful that he was not convicted of the top charge, which could have been a potential sentence of life behind bars without the possibility of parole. But you heard from prosecutor there also addressing the media, Joel Gardner, who prosecuted this case. And he was saying, basically, he also doesn't know the sentencing off the top of his head for the lesser charge. He is thankful for the jury and for their deliberating and for their service. But he was a little bit disappointed, you could tell, in all of this. He couldn't answer whether or not Arielle Konig, the victim, is going to be making a statement at sentencing. Most likely she will. And she'll talk about, what it's been like for her to live with this. Very tragic situation and very frightening for her, And she lives with that scar each and every day that reminds her of what happened on her birthday back in 2025 on that trail. It was supposed to be a beautiful day with her husband that she was trying to reconnect with. Pre-trial sentencing, they're going to do a report right now for the good doctor and then determine, that'll be a factor in the sentencing with the judge. So you'll have his sentencing date on July 16th, which is a Thursday at 8:30 in the morning. So that's going to be a big, big day for the good doctor. And it sounds like with the lesser, facing up to 10 years, if I read that correctly with the state legislature guidelines, that he could actually walk away with time served. So again, let me know what you think about all of this. I do want to get you caught up with some of the key testimony. Again, please go back and review some of my videos on this. I broke down the key testimony for this case of what the jury was deliberating with in key evidence with Judge Ashley Wilcott, one of my good friends from Court TV when we served time there. And she also, at the end of the video, talks about what she's up to now. So I want to put this up here as we talk about this case a little bit further. Let me remove the picture, and we're going to add the video of this victim saying her truth, saying what happened to her on that day. Let's watch.
What did you?
So he was then facing me and the cliff, and I walked up to him. And again, everything was normal. I walked up and just kind of like brushed my hands against his shoulders, kind of like a little hug. When I walk up to him, then he grabbed me really forcefully by my upper arms, and he said, "I'm so fucking sick of this shit. Get back over there." And he starts pushing me back towards the cliff.
Grabbing you and pushing you. What did you do?
I was surprised. It felt almost like he was kidding at first, and I was like, "What are you doing?" But he had grabbed me really hard and was moving me. So we kind of wrestled a little bit, and I threw myself onto the ground. And he had grabbed me really hard and was moving me. So we kind of wrestled a little bit, and I threw myself onto the ground. There's a lot of trees and shrubs there so that I could hold on.
As you threw yourself to the ground, how did the defendant respond?
Well, he got on top of me, and he was kind of trying to pull me, and we're wrestling, and he ended up straddling me. So he had his legs on either side, kind of across my waist.
On March 24, 2025, how tall were you?
About 5'6".
And how much did you weigh on that date?
About 145 pounds.
Okay. And on that date, how tall was the defendant?
About 5'10".
And how much did he weigh?
Maybe 165 pounds.
Okay, and then you said straddling. Can you describe what that looked like for us?
Sure. I'm laying on my back, and he's on top of me with kind of like one leg on either side across my waist, facing me. So he was first trying to pull me, try to get me closer to the cliff. And again, I could kind of hold on to the roots and stuff that were around us. And then he had a backpack that he was hiking with. And he, like I said, he's on top of me. And he had a syringe in his hand, and he says, "Hold still." And I see the syringe, and I just kind of like batted away from us both.
Okay. When you first saw that syringe in his hand, did you actually see where it came from?
I didn't see where it came from, though. Kind of holding me down with his right hand. I'm screaming and I'm saying, what the fuck are you doing? Get off me. And he's saying like, fuck you, you're done. I'm so sick of your shit. I'm so done with you. And I'm trying to kind of protect myself and get out of there. But also he's gripping his hand closed really hard. And there's a vial in his hand. So I was trying to pry his hand open so I could grab that vial out.
Okay. Which hand did you see the vial in?
The vial was in his right hand.
Okay. And did you actually get to see the entire vial?
No.
Okay. What part of it did you see?
I could see pieces of it because I'm trying to like pry his fingers off of it so that I can grab it and throw it.
Were you able to open his hand that was holding the vial?
Not enough to get the vial away.
All right. You mentioned the defendant was saying some things. Can you tell us what you remember he said as he was on top of you?
Yeah. I'm screaming and he's telling me, shut the fuck up. Nobody's going to hear you out here. Nobody's coming to save you. And I'm saying like, you can't do this. Everyone knows we're on a hike. They'll know this wasn't an accident and our kids will be orphans. You'll go to jail and I'll be dead. Like, you have to stop. And again, he's saying like, you're done. We're done with you. We don't need you anymore. You're done. You're done.
Did telling the defendant any of these things that you told him, did that get him to stop?
No, not really. And I had said like, your mom just sent me a really beautiful text for my birthday. Like, your family will be upset if I die. He can't face our kids after this, And he did seem at that point to like calm down a little bit. Like, it seemed like he took a deep breath and calmed down. And so I had this moment where I was like, okay, this is the break. Like, I can get out. And then he just starts hitting me with a rock.
Starts beating you with a rock. Sorry, I was on mute there. Can you imagine? It's your birthday and your loved one, in this case, her husband, wanted to go on a hike with her and she's like, sure. And then this incident happens. Well, the jury believed her. I'm not sure if they believe the full story because he wasn't convicted on attempted second-degree murder, but the jury believed her and not him. If you're just joining us, it is 3:17 in Hawaii, in Oahu. It is 9:18 in the East, where I'm located, and I'm joining you live tonight with a big verdict in Hawaii versus Gerhardt Konig. He was on trial. The top charge was second-degree murder. He was convicted of guilty of attempted manslaughter, a much lesser. The good doctor is going to be sentenced on July 16th on a Thursday at 8:30 in the morning. He's going to find out his fate. The jury already decided. We were just hearing key testimony from the wife there, the victim in all of this. I have the verdict queued up in case you missed it. But first, I want to play the opposite, which was this defendant who chose to testify in front of his jury because he gave a self-defense defense. In my opinion, he had to take the stand. If you are going to say that you hurt somebody, no matter who it is, in self-defense, you have to explain your story and your actions. And the jury, they didn't believe it. So let's watch it.
What the fuck was that?
Yes.
Okay, and then did you move towards him?
Yeah, I did. I was like, just asking her, like, what was that? And started walking towards her. Because at this point, she was like 5 or 10 feet away from me.
Okay. So you walk towards her, and you mentioned when you're walking towards her, where were your hands?
Out.
Okay. Now, did you get close to her?
Yes, eventually, yeah. Well,
And by the way, when you start walking towards her, is she saying anything?
not initially, but I turn around and I'm asking her, like, what the hell's, what the fuck just happened and what's going on? And as I'm starting to walk towards her, she starts yelling.
She starts yelling.
Yeah, help me, help me.
Okay. And then what happens?
And then I just keep walking to her, like, what are you doing?
Were you
And I
telling
get-
her, like, why are you screaming?
Yeah, what are you doing? And I get to her and I'm like, touching her just putting my hands on her arms, and I was like, "What are you doing? What's going on?"
What happens then?
She keeps yelling, and she kind of grabs my wrists and throws herself on the ground and pulls me down with her.
So now you guys are on the ground?
Yes.
Okay. When you're on the ground, what starts to happen?
She's holding on to me, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, but I'm also at this point trying to let go of, like, trying to get free, because she's like actively holding on to me. Like she has her leg like wrapped around one of my legs, and like is actively holding on to me and is yelling. And so I'm trying to, get free, and I get my one arm free, and I try to use it to get my other arm free, and she grabs me by the testicles. And
let me stop you there. Did you ever, in the course of this whole thing you described so far, ever try to pull her towards, push her off, or drag her towards the cliff's edge?
No, not at all.
Okay. So you're on the ground. She's kind of holding on to you. You guys are, would you just kind of like a scuffle going on?
Yes.
Okay. And her legs wrapped around you?
Yes.
You mentioned, we got right up to the point where you said she grabbed your testicles. Is that right?
Yes.
How hard did she grab it?
I mean, this was, like,
Pretty hard.
she like was holding on to me by my testicles, basically, like that hard.
Okay. Did she grab it and let go, or did she grab it and hold on?
She grabbed it and held on.
Now,
Okay, so there you have it. That's part of the good doctor's testimony there. The jury didn't buy it. They didn't believe it, but they didn't convict him on the top charge. And remember, this was part of the case evidence at hand that they had back there in the jury room with them. Look at these two pictures side by side. It's really kind of hard to look at, really kind of tough to look at. How injured she was. She was in the hospital. The jury saw pictures of that. Just such a tough job that they did, and they did the right thing. The jury got it right. I also want to, one last time, play the verdict for you as we're wrapping up this Verdict Wednesday there in Hawaii. So let me bring in
another folder. Ms. McCallum will come and collect it from you. Ms. Atkins, you can have a seat. Thank you. Dr. Konig, can you stand as the clerk of the court reads the verdict of the jury?
Case number 1 CPC-25-00000373, State of Hawaii versus Gerhardt Konig. We, the jury in this case, finds the defendant guilty of attempted manslaughter based upon extreme mental or emotional disturbance, dated 4/8/26 by the foreperson.
Gentlemen, you can be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to call you by chair number, not by name, but by chair number. And I'm going to ask that you answer out loud either yes or no. If you agree with the verdict that was read out loud here in court, you would answer yes.
Okay, there you have it. The doctor breaking down in tears after his jury convicts him, finds him guilty of a felony, which is attempted manslaughter, but not the top charge there of attempted second-degree murder. No longer facing a sentence of life behind bars without the possibility of parole or even with parole. Now facing up to 10 years behind bars, but could get away with time served. Let me know what you think about this case and how it ended up. Did the jury get it right? I think they did. Sentencing day, July 16th, 8:30 in the morning, local time. All right. That is going to do it for my coverage of this live verdict there in Hawaii. Hawaii versus Gerhardt Konig. Thank you for being here. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and maybe share this channel with your friends, your family. Let's bring the true crime family back together. That's what doing this is all about. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself and have a good night.